extremely talented people. One who's been a founding member of KDF, Swati Khandelwal. She has over 10 years of work experience and she works with healthcare companies. She's founded two startups and has co founded a startup to teach life skills to youth and teenagers. She's done her MBA from IIM Bangalore. And along with her is one of her friend and colleague, Utkarsh. Utkarsh has had 6 years of work ex. He is an engineer from IIT Kharagpur and he's done his MBA from IIM Bangalore. So we have two extremely talented young people between us today, here to share how to start up and what does it take to make your startup successful. With that, I would like to introduce Swati and Utkarsh, if you'll switch on your videos. I think they're not audible
Yeah.
as well.
Thanks, Rishika. Thanks a lot for the introduction.
So Swati, before you proceed, there are two questions that I want to throw at you right at the beginning of the seminar. One is, who should start up? What is basically the kind of, how would you classify the people who should actually venture into a startup? And the second question is, why should one start up?
Thank you, Rishika. This is Utkarsh. Thanks for the question. Yeah, in these times where jobs are going away, entrepreneurship is a go-to option for all of us. So to your first question, who should start up? I think anyone can start up. There's no age to it. Sorry. Is there a problem in audio? Hello.
Y'all can continue. The bandwidth was low, but you're back on track.
Sure. So yeah, to your first question, anyone can start up. It's not constrained by age. Only thing which is required is certain amount of vision and persistence. So whatever we understand from our experiences and interaction, anyone can start up. And the second question is, why should you start up? Well, we have the answer right now. Like we'll start the presentation and then take forward from there.
That's great, Utkarsh. We're all here wanting to kind of understand what can be done in the current situation where, like you rightly said, people are losing jobs. We're all looking for opportunities. And I think it's the need of the hour. So over to you.
Sure. So yeah, we would be happy to thank you for the opportunity provided to us to explain the entrepreneurship part and how we can do it better. Let's start on the presentation.
Utkarsh, you lost the screen share. You'll have to share the slide again.
Okay.
You're back on. You're back on.
You're back on, right? Can you see the slides?
Yes.
No, I cannot see.
We'll stop share and we'll share it again.
No. 1 minute, we'll just share it again. Can you see the slides now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Great. So let's start. And we start with a quotation from Muhammad Yunus, who is the economist from Bangladesh, who said that all human beings are entrepreneurs. When we were in caves, we were all self-employed. Then we searched for food, and then that's how human history began. As civilization has come into being, somehow we have transformed ourselves into employees and laborers. Now, this is a very recent phenomena. For the last 200 years only, we have been focusing on employment and jobs and corporate jobs and startup jobs, right? But before that, we were all entrepreneurs, and we somehow are going back to our roots. That's what is happening right now. So the will to create is coded in our DNA. We from cavemen onwards, we have been trying to better our lives, and now we should again focus on our entrepreneurial instincts and get back to our roots. That's all starting up is about. Now, one thing before we move forward is to understand the concepts of vertical progress and horizontal progress. So horizontal progress is about, let's say somebody invented something, somebody, let's say, invented the mobile phone, Apple invented the new format of iPhone. Now everyone copied it. So that is globalization. That is horizontal progress. Someone inventing something, and everyone copying it. So the copying part is horizontal progress, and that's globalization. That's scaling up. This is where China is better known as, right? Just for an example. What is vertical progress? Vertical progress is 0 to 1. Vertical progress is creating something new. That is a technological invention. Another example can be very recently Zoom was in the was in fashion because we are working on Zoom because Zoom invented something new. But then Geo just started their Geo Meets, which is just a copy. So Zoom is 0 to 1, and startups like Geo are actually copying and scaling it up. Why is this important? Because all the new inventions, all the 0 to 1, anything which is new is happening. That's how the civilization progresses. So this is just a chart mapping our entire progress from 10,000 years back to currently. What you see is that from 1500 AD to 1970 AD, actually a lot of progress happened, right? And then somehow the progress has stalled. Now, like in the previous, like 5,000, 10,000 years back, people were fighting for land, people were fighting for small amount of wealth. That's why wars happen. But as technology has progressed, as new things are happening, uh, as new things are happening, wars are fought less, development happens. So startups are all about this progress. Startups are all about 0 to 1. And if we want to improve the lives of everyone, that is where startups come into play, because startups are not just businesses. The difference between a small business and a startup is all about creativity, creating something which was not there. A small business is something which is copying, and both of them are fine. It's not that small business is bad or startup is bad. Both of them have their own differentiation. A startup is required to do 0 to 1. A business is required to do 1 to 1. Now, as we discussed, new technology is created through startups. 0 to 1 happens through startups. Uh, but 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 what do you mean by a startup? What is the difference between a startup? Can startup happen by one person, or it requires a big company to do that innovation? What is understood right now is that a lone person cannot do a startup. Similarly, a big company, it is very difficult to start something in a start something new in a big company. It's not that big companies don't do work or lone geniuses don't do work. The problem is that lone geniuses can do something good in art or research, but they cannot start a revolution or something new is happening. That cannot happen. Similarly, for a big company, they can easily copy something, but they cannot do something new. So startups are done by a small group of people who are coming together with a sense of mission to create a valuable business. So what is a startup? A startup is the largest group of people who can start something together without compromising on their mission. They are the largest group of people you can convince to come together to bring a new technology to market. Now, what are the reasons for which you should start up, right? Now, the wrong reasons are I want to grow rich very fast. I want to be my own boss. People start with these motivations and they always fail simply because, that is not just enough to start up and grow something. A startup generally takes 10 years to come to fruition, to come to its vision. And by these motivations, like just to grow rich or become autonomous, these are not just enough to start up. These may be enough, by the way, to start your own personal business. But as far as startup is concerned, it requires much more. Sometimes, by the way, if you want to grow rich fast, you can also become an employee. You can also become an employee and still grow rich.
So, like you rightly said, Utkarsh, in fact, when we were, talking about this seminar, the first thing that, we came across was the question that does startup have a lot of money? So the entire idea behind startups is that it gives you fast and easy money. Like you said, the myth surrounding startups is that you create something, you give it a valuation, and you sell it, which I want to ask you right now. So what is the motive? Is this the correct motive that, I would want to raise money and step out? Or do you feel the correct approach is to probably treat it like your own baby, grow it organically? Of course, the theoretically correct answer is going to be to grow it organically. But I want to hear from you, what is your take on why should you start?
Right. So, Rishika, great question. I think the answer here is a mix of both. So see, it's nothing wrong to start up because you want to earn a lot of money, you want to become famous, you want to be your own boss, but that cannot be the primary driver to starting up. One should start up because he comes to an idea, he comes to a realization that this is something he wants to do, this is a new vision he wants to build for the world around him. And there cannot be any other motive, there cannot be any other way than just doing it himself. So one should be super passionate about the idea. So passion comes first, the idea comes first, everything else comes later. So if you have a great idea, if you feel that without you stepping in, without you doing it, this will not be done, this problem will not be solved, this idea will not come into vision, then only you should start up. Other motivations can be there, but they cannot be the primary driver. The primary driver have to be the passion of you. So moving forward, one more thing is about, while it is important to create something new, while it is important to create something of value, but a startup is ultimately a business, right? So in a business, you have to capture some of the value. And by value, so let me just make it very simple. While a lot of companies are focusing on the revenue, that they are growing a huge amount of revenue, they're not focusing on their profits, right? And they're not focusing on the value which they are gaining from the startup, right? Their value they are generating for their company. This is wrong, right? What is important is that while you are focusing on revenue, you should also focus on the profits as well. Now, there can be different strategies where you can forego some of initial profit for growth of your company. But ultimately, you have to have a plan to keep capturing value and profit for your company in the long term. Uh, so what are we saying? We are saying that, let's say X amount of revenue you are making and Y% of X is your profit. Then X and Y are two different things. So your profit and revenue are two different things. Having a huge amount of revenue and having a great amount of profit are two different things. Companies can have lots of revenue but very small amount of profit. Some companies can have lots of profit but small amount of revenue. An example can be airlines versus Google. Now, airline industry, this is an example of airline industry, but this is true for all airlines in general. As you can see, they have a revenue of around $200 billion, but their profit margin is very low, 0.1 to 2.2%. And that's why they keep going down. That's why they keep getting bankrupt all the time, because they are not capturing value. Now, compare this with a Google.
Like, Utkarsh, this is where I would want to chip in again.
Sure.
Most of the times, this happens because you do not know what to keep in mind when you start. That's one very fundamental question. For example, today, say I'm very passionate about a product or say an idea, and I want to start up something on my own. And I have the correct amount of passion to drive me, the vision, but I don't know what to keep in mind. So I don't know how to balance. Like you said, there's a difference between your revenue and your profit. I do not know what to keep in mind. So can you throw some light on that aspect of startup?
Yes. So there are multiple aspects of to be kept in mind, and we have all those aspects in picture. For example, you should not. Now there are various parts. So one is about the idea. One basic suggestion is that you should not start too late. You should start ASAP, right? You should, whatever a dirty product you have, you should just release it in the market. You should build something which people want, right? Rather than you building something you are just figuring on your own self. You should definitely look for product market fit. You should look if there are lots of customers there. More importantly, don't focus on scale initially. Focus on building something which only 100 people want initially. Get something out which only 100 people initially are ready to buy. Then you can focus on scale, but first get your 100 customers. And more importantly, try focusing on scale only when you believe that the product is right in the market, that this is the feature, this is the product, this is the pricing, this is the marketing strategy which people want. If all these things are taken care of, you can start up.
Hi Utkarsh, Prateek here. I want to ask one question.
Sure.
Utkarsh, you just spoke about scale, value, revenue, and profit, and I want to talk about Flipkart. I want to talk about Swiggy. I want to talk about Oyo. They all are growing in scale. They have made a lot of value in the market, but they're still not profit making. But they're growing by a vision. Think after 10 years, people are still investing in them. A lot of banks, a lot of VCs are investing in them. Why is that then? They're also startups. They were startups.
Yeah. So that's the answer is that, see, there are two parts to it. One is they are investing with the hope that they will be profitable 15-20 years down the line, and they are also focusing on becoming a monopolistic business where there is no competition. So scale, and again, it is debatable that, if this is the right strategy. So by the way, Oyo has now Oyo is getting a lot of problems. It's in a lot of problems because it scaled very fast. The product market fit was not there, and it got some cheap capital, like $2 billion of capital from SoftBank, and hence it was able to scale up fast. Now you can always say that the investor was not made a right judgment. So that's a very debatable question. It's a very personal answer, by the way. My answer to this would be that Oyo did not have the product market fit to scale it up so fastly, but somehow it got some cheap capital and hence it was able to do so. But that is not the prescribed model. I hope
Would you say the same about Flipkart and Swiggy? Would you say the same? Because people now look up to Flipkart and Swiggy to be that kind of a startup. Would you still say the same?
So again, answers are different for every startup. For Flipkart, we can say that Flipkart was able to monetize. Flipkart is still the number 2 player or number 1, like it changes in terms of the e-commerce market. Flipkart has a great plan to monetize itself. So Flipkart did get its product market fit right. So my point here being here that you've got to have your product market fit right before you scale it up along. For Swiggy also, you can the unit economics is still not there, but the product market fit is there. So for every startup it varies, and again, it's a very abstract concept. You cannot quantify if you got the product market fit right. I think one way can be that you got your customer satisfaction scores very high. With Oyo, it was never the case. For Flipkart and for Swiggy, they had their customer satisfaction scores, the NPS score, which defines it, has in general been very high. But for Oyo, if you have been following the news, you can say that they have always been in trouble with their customers or with their partners.
Okay.
Sure. So moving forward, when you start up, you have to think about four parts. One is the idea, second is the product, then your team, and then your execution. And this in this order. Idea comes first, product comes second, team comes third, and execution comes fourth. And even if you get all of them right, you may still fail. So that is always there. By the way, with startups, there is always a probability or risk that you can fail. Now, how do you get a good idea? Now, in terms of a good idea, what you should do is try observing problems around you. Think of problems as opportunities. For example, Uber was started when the founder realized that people hate to wait for a taxi. People don't get taxis. Oyo got started because people hate the budget hotel experience in India. Netflix got started because the founder had to pay a late fine for returning a video cassette. So all of these startups have come from their own personal problems or a problem which a lot of people were feeling at the same time. Now, how do you identify those problems? One is that you have to look for an everyday problem you are passionate about. solving a very niche problem which people don't get, it doesn't occur to a lot of people at the same time, will not lead to a lot of scale. So that's why it is advised to focus on everyday problems you are passionate about, something which really affects you, something which is a frequent occurrence, and something which can go large scale. uh, let's look at various competitors or various startups which have happened. For example, now Google is focusing on organizing world's information, a problem which everybody faces. Facebook is trying to connect people digitally. Again, that before Facebook, there was a big problem. Swiggy is trying to deliver food fast on time. Again, before Swiggy, it was not solved. So solve something which is an everyday problem and which you are passionate about. Some powerful questions to ask before you zero in on a problem are: how big the problem is? Is the problem an urgent problem? Is it growing? Is it a frequent problem? Is the problem leading to a lot of expenditure to everyone? Also, then you have to focus on how do you solve it. Can you solve this cheaply? uh, does a lot of solution already exist? How is your solution more effective than the existing solutions? Now then you have to focus on implementation as well, how fast you can grow. If you plan to grow very fast, then only you can call yourself a startup, then only the investors will be interested in you. Otherwise you are a small business, and nothing wrong with it. Like, you can be a small business, you can grow at your own pace, but if you want to be you want to be a investor friendly business and want to grow very fast, then only you are a startup. One more thing is that you have to create user personas, right? Like, let's say you get an idea, let's say you understand, you zero in on a problem, then you have to understand the concept of user personas. You have to understand which are the customers, how the customers are behaving in this problem, in this current scenario. User persona is a technique to understand the customer better. So you have to answer 3 questions to get your user persona right. First of all, who is your customer? What is their main goal currently? How they are achieving their main goal, and what is the main barrier in achieving this goal? Let's understand this with an example. For example, let's say now that COVID is right now rampant, let's understand this product, the mask, right? Now, I mean, in our generation, people have not used masks so rampantly. But again, in this last 4 months, we have been forced to use a mask on a day-to-day basis. How do we make it better? Because everybody has a problem with the mask. Now we have to understand who are the users of this mask. Healthcare workers are a
Pratik,
user.
sorry, Utkarsh, I just want to interrupt you here. I have a question: that does your startup have to be solution oriented? Like you've said in the previous slide, that find solutions every day. What if my startup is not dealing with a problem, but it is just dealing with something which is a matter of life? It need not be path breaking, because those kind of ideas, when you say that find solutions, it's very difficult. You're kind of restricting the entire bunch of people who would want to even start up.
Rishika, I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand your question. Can you please repeat?
So my question was, Utkarsh, you said that your startup should have a solution to a problem. So you have to focus on what problem are you solving. My question is, what if I don't want to solve a problem? My startup idea is only to kind of something to do with lifestyle, not something which is solving an issue. Does that also fit into your scheme of explanation here?
No, but Rishika, like, what my understanding is that it's not about startup. Like, if you do a business, if it's not if it's not a non-profit venture, or a policy venture, or a governance venture, you are there to make money. So for startups, the first precondition is you are there to make money, and of course, when you are making money, you are solving a pain point of the customer. So if these two preconditions should always be there when you are not only doing a startup but you are doing a business. If these two preconditions are not there, then mostly you are doing a non-profit, which is fine, but then it's not a startup.
Maybe for profit, but maybe on a small scale, in case you want to raise money from investors, or you want to incubate in some kind of accelerators like Y Combinator and so on, then probably in that case, when you have to scale up and raise a certain amount of money, you have to understand and make a point that what is the kind of problem you are solving, why it is a problem so big, and what is the solution that you are providing. Probably what I understand, your question lies around certain things which, personally somebody feels is a passion and want to do a small scale thing around it. So that can be like a small scale business. You need not have to raise money for that. But in case you want to go to an investor, raise money, then you have to talk about the problem and the solution that you are offering.
Let's understand this better with an example. For example, and I agree with you, Rishika, that we don't need to create something which is very fundamentally path breaking. For example, let's say meditation, right? Now, meditation has been there for so long, like thousands of years, but there was no company in the space which can help people meditate on their own. That's where Headspace came into picture. So Headspace solved this problem that everyone can meditate whenever they want, right? So the technology was not great. Technology was not amazingly path breaking, but it solved a problem which was a everyday problem, which was a frequent occurrence. And with and the by the way, the problem here was that people did not have a tool to do meditation on their own. And this was a problem which was felt by lots of people. So you have to have scale. You have to find out a problem which is everyday, which is is a regular occurrence. Your solution need not be very path breaking, but the problem needs to be at a scale. Does it answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Sure. So moving
I
forward.
have another question.
Yes,
Saurabh
please.
here. How can I
Can
validate the idea?
we please take all the questions towards the end, because we've got a huge slide going. We've kept 15 minutes purely
Yeah,
for your
sure.
questions. So I would request all of you all to please hold back your questions for the next 15 minutes.
Sure. So so we were understanding how do you do a user persona, right? And the problem which we were solving was that right now masks are in fashion, but masks are very uncomfortable for everyone. How do we solve this problem? Before moving forward, we need to understand who are the users of this product or the mask. Who are the users who are facing this problem? We need to categorize these users in certain logical groups. Now, for example, here we have categorized them in three groups. One is healthcare workers who have to day in and day out wear the mask, and they need to be they're at a very high risk from the disease if they stop wearing it. Then there are the delivery guys or people like shopkeepers or hotel operators who regularly are in touch with customers. On their job, they have to go out and wear the mask. So they are at high risk from the disease, but they want something which is cheap because they don't have a lot of money to spend on the product. Now, the third kind of customers are your work from home employees or people who are advised to stay at home. So they want something which is cheap, which is obviously they're at a medium risk from the disease, but they can also look for something which is fashionable or which is unique. There can be other categories for this product, like there can be children. We are not considering all categories. What we are doing is we are trying to understand how do you do a user persona, how do you segment your customers, and how do you zero in on a problem, right? Now let's say we are a startup and we want to create a better product, and we will not focus on all segments at the same time. We'll focus on one segment, and let's say we are focusing on healthcare workers. Now, what is the problem with healthcare workers? In fact, if I did a research for this and I realized that the current mask design is causing skin injuries if worn for a long time for the healthcare workers. So how do we solve it? Now we solve it in a very methodic fashion by first of all understanding by using two types of thinking. One is divergent thinking, where you create lots of choices, and then by convergent thinking, where you make a choice. So in divergent thinking, basically what you do is you put yourself in the shoes of the entrepreneur. You give yourself 10 minutes and you just force your mind to just think of a solution. So the problem here is that you want to create a better mask which will not lead to injuries and which is safe for the doctor to wear, for the healthcare worker to wear. And you let your mind think, force your mind to think, even if the solution is not logical, even if you feel that this is not a great solution, you don't judge yourself. You just think about it. You can do it alone, or you can do it in a group. Also, you can one better way to do it is with sticky notes. So this is what I did. I myself thought about this and I came up with some solutions. One is you can give a helmet One is you can give an ear connector, you can give a face shield, or you can give a mask which sticks to the person, which is there is no tying up with the ears. So as you see, these are some options. So divergent thinking helps you to create lots of options without judging that if these options are okay or not okay. Now, in order to get these options, choose from one of these options, you should use convergent thinking. And convergent thinking is basically filtering out the solutions based on certain parameters. What we have done here is basically divided the solutions into 4 parts. One is that the solution is either easy to achieve or difficult to achieve. That is the y-axis, if you see. Then the solution is either easy to make or ordinary solution, or is it the original solution? So what we see here is that a face shield or a helmet is actually a ordinary solution and difficult to achieve, because if you are an entrepreneur, if you are not starting up with a lot of capital, you will not be able to manufacture it. Adhesive mask is a good original solution, but it is difficult to achieve again because of the problem of capital. Now, what I realized as an entrepreneur, if I am going to make it with a very low budget and with something which is not there in the market yet, I will make an ear connector, which will make the life of the doctor more comfortable. So in this way, this is just an example. You can do it differently, but the idea here is to divide the solution and find something which is easy to achieve and original, so that you can start very soon. This is the idea which we'll move forward with, just as an example. There are some other concepts which you should be aware before you move forward in terms of startup. So first is the idea, and then how do you differentiate? How do you get a better idea? How do you zero in on an idea which is easy to make but still unique? Again, in terms of concept, you should also try to understand who are your competitors and how do you differentiate yourself in the business. So product is one. Like, there are many ways you can differentiate your product. Then there is the service, like how do you deliver the product or the service. Then there is the distribution channel, how do you distribute the product. Then there is your relationship with the customer or various stakeholders. Then there is your reputation or image, and then there is the pricing. So you can differentiate your product from all your competitors who are existing in the market in any of these ways which are presented. But what you have to remember is you have to try to get to a unique positioning which will make you profitable. So once you have been able to do the business differentiation, once you understand how do you differentiate your product, then you come to competitive advantage. So competitive advantage is again the same. How do you ensure your differentiation from competitors and make sure that you get sustainable profits? How do you do that? You first of all understand who is your target market, who is going to buy, what they desire, who else can buy, like who is the new customer which you can bring to the table. You have to understand then your competition. Who is the present competition? Who can be a competition? Finally, you have to come to a unique selling proposition, which is clear to your customer, saying that, okay, this is something which is unique. This is something which other competitors are not giving. And for you also, it should be a clear, unique proposition. There are many ways to do competitive advantage. You can offer the same solution at a lower cost. You can differentiate your product in terms of features. You can focus only on one customer segment. Like, there are many customer segments for a product or a service. You decide to focus only on one which is being underserved or which is not being delivered well. You can build a brand around your solution. You can build a story around it. You can showcase your values to the customer. Then finally, you can also have a network effect. So by the way, network effect means if a lot of people are using your product, a new customer is going to use the same. For example, Facebook is a great example of network effect, because your friends and your colleagues are on Facebook. That's why you are on Facebook. So Facebook has been built with this differentiation of network effect. Once you have got the idea right, once you are clear about your differentiation in the market, you should focus on the product. Now product is the most important thing while you are starting up, right? Like, you can do the sales later. You can worry about the PR, the marketing later, but you have to get the product market fit right. You have to ensure that the product is what the customers are looking for. So again, build a great product. How do you do that? By involving a lot with the customer. So from day one, you have to first of all build a very early prototype. do not wait a lot of time to build a perfect product. Build whatever you can get and then showcase to some customers. You don't need a lot of customers. You need some 10 to 30 customers who are very enthusiastic about your product. And then keep tweaking the product as the customers give you suggestions. So you have to do this iteration a lot before you get a product which customers are loving. Also, you can track this iterative process by matrix. You have to so matrix can be anything. For software products, generally the matrix is the engagement time. How many people are willing to sign up for the product? How many paid customers you have? And initially you should focus on signups and engagement time before you move forward to paid customers. And all of these metrics have a different way of coming up. Initially focus on engagement time, then focus on signups, and then focus on paid customers. Again, how to build.
Sorry, cutting you in again. I have always read a lot about Warren Buffett, and he says one thing: it takes 20 years to build a reputation, and it takes all of 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about it, you will do things a lot differently. That's something that has hit me from the very first time I read about it. Now, what is your take on what should you not do while starting up? So you've spoken about the things that you should keep in mind while you start up. What are the don'ts that are involved in this process?
There can be many don'ts, but the most important is that you should not worry about anything else except for product market fit. Don't go for the money. Don't go for the, it's a very tough thing to do. Like every startup, every entrepreneur in general, in India at least, the fashion is to go for raising investment. Obviously, investment is important. Seed funding, Series A, Series B kind of investments are important. But you can raise all your investment, but get the product market fit right. Do not worry about competition. That's the second thing. So one is, don't focus on investment. Don't focus on competition. Of course, you have to build a differentiated product, but do not lose your sleep over what your competition is doing. That's the second thing.
And I would like to add one more thing. And I think while using different startups or different products that are coming up, what I personally feel is you have to be really honest with your customers. You might not have done the entire work and you want them to test a little bit of it. So you can be honest, because like you said, the reputation takes a lot of time to build up, and 5 minutes, the customer will say, oh, these people are not giving good quality, and it's all gone. So probably you can be honest that this is my initial thing and I want to test. And these initial customers will be your flag bearers for the rest of the time. And might create.
That's a great answer, Swati. That's actually quite amazing with the point that you've made here. Being honest with your product, and it's, I think, one of the most.
Rishika, we are not able to hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that the point that you've made is a great takeaway. So thank you for actually bringing this up.
Sure.
You can continue there.
Yeah. So we were talking about building a great product. One other suggestion which is given generally is about release timelines. You should have definite timelines, otherwise it will not release. Building a product is a creative process. So you may get so focused on it that you may not able to release it. You will always say, no, let's not ship it right now. Let's build it further. Let's make another iteration of it. But what is suggested is that you have defined timelines, and no matter how the product is, you release it. You keep releasing versions of it. You should get someone responsible for it, not the whole group. One person should be responsible for release, for focusing on the release dates. And finally, you should also have indicators and metrics to ensure how the product and the features are evolving. Now, once the product is ready, now you focus on the team. You can start with a co-founder. Like a co-founder can come before the product, but other members of the team can come later. Now, in terms of co-founder, it is advised that you choose the co-founder really well. In fact, statistics show that 70% of startups fail because the co-founder, there was a fight between the co-founders. So you have to choose your co-founder really well. People nowadays choose co-founders in entrepreneurship fest or somebody whom they met recently. But that is not prescribed. What is prescribed is that you know your co-founder from the last 5, 6. You have a very long-term understanding of the co-founder. Otherwise, it is very difficult to continue because the journey itself has so many ups and downs that you have to choose your co-founder really well. Again, there are startups which have 12 co-founders, but that is not the way forward. What is prescribed is that you should have not more than 2 to 3 co-founders. What do you look in a co-founder? You look in co-founder something which you look in a person like James Bond. Basically, someone who is always ready to get things done, who is always ready to get things done, who is always ready to get his hands dirty. Someone who is decisive, tough, and calm. In terms of the first line of employees, it is advised that you don't hire employees in your first 6 to 12 months of existence. This is because then only you will be able to meet your customers on a regular basis. You'll be able to build a product which customers love. And it is very important that co-founders and founders are really close to the customers. That is why you should not have employees in the first 6 to 12 months. Second thing is you anyways will not have a lot of money to pay them. And they are a huge guzzler of money, employees, if you don't hire them right. So in the first year of existence, you should not focus on hiring employees. Let's say if you have to hire employees, even then you should not hire them randomly. You should wait a lot of time, like even 6 months to 1 year, to get the right employee, and hire them for their aptitude, not for their experience. Hire them for their good communication skills and risk-taking attitude rather than their expertise. Like, this is more important. Aptitude is more important than expertise. So now you have got the idea right. You have started building the product. You go to the customer regularly to build the product together. Now you also have a team in place. Now what is left is execution. And how do you execute? Most important role is of the founder. The founder's role is not to just raise money or advertise or go in and do interviews. Those are secondary. Most important is that the founder is involved in the product day in and day out. Product and sales, these are the two responsibilities of the founder. And obviously, obviously, like, there will be a lot of activities in which a founder will be involved, but founders need to choose 2-3 activities which are more important. Otherwise we will not be able to focus. So focus is very important, and the 2-3 activities is the co-founders should focus only on 2 to 3 activities and delegate the rest of them, and prioritize on them. Finally, it is important to be intense. You really need to work hard in the initial days of your startup. The good thing is that when you are starting up, you are not a big company, so there will be very less bureaucracy, and hence you will be able to execute really, really fast. So these are certain. This is just a small playbook which we compiled for starting up. Would be happy to answer questions. More importantly,
Thank
finally,
you.
Rishika, just one more thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so finally,
Yes.
on competition, this is a quote from Henry Ford, which I really like. That the competitor to be feared is one who never bothers about you at all, but goes on making his own business better all the time. So don't focus on your competition. Focus on your own product and customers. Thank you. Thank you.
That's so well said, Utkarsh. In fact, you ended out on the best advice that you could have given to the audience here.
Sure.
In your, they even our ancestors would say the best way to beat someone is not by trying to destroy them, but by making yourself better. And that's exactly what you've ended it with. Having said that, Swati and Utkarsh, you all have got such amazing insight, into our conversation today. Thank you so much for putting in so much effort. The slides, the way you've designed it, this speaks volumes about how much you'll have put in with respect to time and effort. I'm throwing this forum open to questions. If somebody does have a question, you can raise your hands. I'll be happy to unmute.
Can I go?
Saurabh. Yeah, perfect. You can
Yeah.
go.
How can I validate the idea? Like, how will I know that problem which I am facing, somebody else is facing the same? Can you please answer?
So while validating the idea, I mean, let me get your question right. I think the question which you are asking is that how do you know that what you are working on is really a big problem to solve? Is that the question?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So you do need to do your customer research and surveys to understand if this really is a pain point. So there are certain sampling methodologies and research methodologies which you need to be aware of to do a survey. While we can go a lot into it, one simple advice is that focus on at least 30 customers while designing a survey. Do I answer your question, or happy to answer anything?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Swati, can you remove the screen from your computer so we can spotlight the videos from our, yeah. Thank you.
Anyone has any more questions?
We'll wait for a couple of more minutes. Anybody else? Prateek, we have quite an amazing
Hi.
audience as well.
Yeah, I
Hi,
have a
Utkarsh and Swati. My question is,
Just a
you
minute.
spoke about.
Someone went twice. Okay, Manasvi, I will just ask you to hold back. Prateek, you can go
yeah,
first.
sure.
Utkarsh, you spoke about product market fit, and I want to know whether you should build the product for the market, or you should build the product, or you should build the market around the product. Like an Apple, the iPod, it started with the iPod, or even with the Windows. Those concepts were not in the market, and then they came in the market. Then people came to know, oh, we need this also, and then that is why they went on to become such huge companies. So the market was built around a product. There was no existing market for that. So how do you go about the product? Do you build it for the market, or you build a market around the product?
Great question. But just to answer this, one thing is that you build your product around the problem. It may so happen that there is no market for the product, but the problem generally will always be there, right? So any of the companies which you said, like Apple, iPod, right? So people had this problem of taking their music with them, and transporting their music and keeping hundreds or thousands of songs in their pocket. This is the problem which Apple was solving. It may so happen that this solution never was there. There people were using alternative solutions which were not doing a great job. So build your product around a problem which people are facing. The market can come later. Do I answer your question?
Are we audible?
Yes, yes, you are. That's amazing. Actually, I was waiting for Prateek to respond, but yeah, I think we have the next question. Manasvi, you can go on.
Hi. My question is, while choosing the idea for a startup, should we also think about the longevity of the idea? Like as you discussed about the mask thing. So it is the conditional basis, like the situation is requiring that solution. But in an year or a two, it will be vanished. Like we will not be wearing masks. So what will happen then?
Great question. I think you have hit it right on the spot. Like you should not build something for short term. Like if you're starting up, ideally you should focus on something which is quite long term. So this was just an example. I'm not saying like people should focus on mass as a startup idea, but yeah, like you should focus something on long term.
In general, we should also focus on the longevity of the idea.
Yes,
like
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. If you're planning to do something, with venture capital and raising funds and looking to do something long term, then only you should start up. Otherwise, it's a small business, which is fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, Utkarsh. The next we have Komal. She's raised her hand. Komal, you can unmute yourself and go for it. Can you hear us, Komal? I don't know if she's able to hear us. But in the meanwhile, does anybody else have any other question? She's messaging,
One more question.
but I can't hear her.
Utkarsh, we were speaking about funds.
Okay, two people unmuted at the same time. Komal, you can go in. Komal, Komal, you tried to ask a question and we can't hear you again. Okay, next, Sunil ji, you can go next. You can unmute.
Hey, hi, I joined late, but I thought the confusion what I heard was very good. So my question to the speaker is that a lot of e-commerce models were built by copying, like Amazon, Alibaba, we copied Flipkart and Snapdeal. Now a lot of these Chinese businesses like apps which were there got stopped. So is there a model which you suggest a startup should copy?
That's quite difficult to answer.
I think that depends on the market size.
That depends on the category of business. So there is no particular model like great startups are built on models which everyone else felt was not to be copied and somebody felt no. So generally good startups are built when everyone else feels that this should not be done and one person feels no, this is what it is, right? Like so for example, if you see Flipkart, nobody at that time believed that e-commerce will be successful in India. Only these two people, and of course some others, were of the opinion that no, it will work, and things added up later. For example, Jio came up, all the internet services became much faster. So sometimes you have to start what you believe in, and things will all fall in place. And that is the whole discomfort or the advantage or disadvantage you may say about starting up.
Okay.
Great one, Utkarsh. Thank you so much, Sunilji, for your question. Komal, are you ready? Komal, I think you've not connected your internet your audio is not connected.
Maybe she can put the question in the chat box.
Yeah, Komal, if you could put your question in the chat box, that would be great. They'd be more than happy to answer. Anybody else who would want to ask any question? Yes, Pankaj.
Yeah, Utkarsh, I have one question. The government has announced a scheme for a startup for getting offices at iStart, which is situated at Jalen Mark. So, do you have any idea, any startup, how can a startup get an office there?
Sorry, I'm not aware about. I think this is from Rajasthan, right? Like this. I'm not aware about Rajasthan government's startup policies. Won't be able to comment.
Okay.
Kailashji, maybe you can go in next.
Is it essential to go startup around digitalization only?
Not really. Like you can, it's not required that you have to only focus on digitization. A startup can be anything. For example, Patanjali is a great startup, right? They started with this small idea that nobody understands like yoga so well. They democratized yoga. They went everywhere, every school, every city, every town to democratize yoga, and finally they were able to create a brand around it. And they launched. I don't think they are more than 10 years or 12 years old. So they have done a great startup, frankly. So it's not just that you have to focus on digital efforts. You can just focus on any problem which is not being solved and which is there existing, which can be.
Ideally, you have a digital presence and you do something digitally so that probably there's a certain set of community of people that you can connect in a non-digital manner. But if you are digital, you can connect with different people who might resonate with your idea and can be your customers or other kind of stakeholders or vendors and so on. So it's a good strategy if you have a digital presence. It lets you connect with different kind of people placed in different parts of the world.
Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Great. We have one more question. I think it's Anju ji. I think you can unmute yourself. No one else. We've not got a message from. That's
Hi,
great.
Rishika.
Yeah, you're on. Namaste.
Hi, Anita.
Hi.
We are actually looking for, you can say, startup in herbals and maybe more focused on immunity side, immunity booster side. If anybody has an idea, we are looking for as an investment point of view also. and we are ready to promote that venture also. So if anybody has those kind of venture and they have done some research and work, our group will be definitely associated to invest and to take it further. So our specialization comes, we do private equity funding.
You're in the perfect place, CP Uncle. In fact, this is exactly what most of our audience here would be waiting for, someone to fund their startup. So I think you've ended the session, to say so, with a perfect place to go to for all the young entrepreneurs here.
And one,
But yeah.
सीपी भैया, अगर ये आयुर्वेदा के थ्रू अगर आप बात करें इम्यून सिस्टम के लिए, हेलो,
Yeah, we can hear you, Anita जी.
सीपी जी से मेरा सवाल था कि क्या वो आयुर्वेदा के लिए प्रेफर करेंगे, जो हर्बल मेडिसिन की अपन बात कर रहे हैं.
I think he dropped out.
Okay.
He lost network, auntie.
No issue.
Okay. But anybody else here who has questions, we still have Swati and Utkarsh with us. If not, I can go ahead and I can express.
एक सवाल है स्वाति से. स्वाति एंड उत्कर्ष, KDF की कुछ ब्रांचेस हैं जो रूरल एंड सेमी अर्बन एरियाज में हैं, और जो लेडीज हैं वो मतलब हैंडमेड प्रोडक्ट्स के साथ आगे आई हैं. सो हम कैसे उनके प्रोडक्ट्स को एक स्टार्टअप के रूप में आगे ले जाना चाहते हैं. दे आर मेकिंग वंडरफुल राखीज एंड हैंडमेड सो मेनी प्रोडक्ट्स. सो यू आर सेइंग कि सम यूनिकनेस एक होनी चाहिए स्टार्टअप के लिए, एक फीचर यूनिकनेस, तो वो है हमारे पास. पर हम कैसे जॉइंटली वर्क करके हम उनके छोटे छोटे प्रोडक्ट्स को किस तरीके से एक स्टार्टअप में कन्वर्ट करें.
ठीक है, आई थिंक इट्स अ गुड क्वेश्चन. जैसे कल भी हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे, मे बी वी कैन आल्सो डिस्कस इन अ सेपरेट कॉल दैट वी हैव टू डू समथिंग. जैसे अभी कोविड है एंड देन देयर इज राखी एंड दीस पीपल आर प्रोड्यूसिंग lot of creative products and handicrafts and rakis, but because COVID is there and they cannot personally have shops or something which can be displayed, ideally it is not recommended, then we have to come up with some digital presence. Now there are a lot of digital tools which are present in which if we can have a capital expenditure from 2,000 to 10,000 rupees, we can build a good e-commerce platform for these people and connect them with their customers which were there last time and to new customers also, and develop a digital marketing plan for these people so that more and more people can buy their products. The only hassle which I feel is there, how they will be delivering the product. Suppose even if we do in Jaipur, is it possible that we can set up a delivery system if somebody's orders from these people in smaller towns to Jaipur and nearby places? Or we can discuss later also how we can do it.
So you mean to say कि एक supply chain हमारे पास अच्छा सा होना चाहिए, तो supply chain के through हम इसको वो करें.
हाँ, मतलब हम इसको digital तो कर देंगे. That is not a very heavy task or very difficult task, that we ask them to click pictures and make a good portfolio digitally for these people. But the only problem right now is the delivery system, like you said, the supply chain management, how we are going to supply and deliver it to the right customer.
Wow. Swati and Utkarsh, you all were amazing. I don't think there's any person here who's gone back with an unanswered question, and that includes me, because I am...
Hi, good evening. This is Rishabh Abual this side, Manju ma'am's son. And,
hi Rishabh.
How are you doing?
Great. Very, very good. How are you?
Absolutely fine. Sorry I interrupted in the middle because my question is unanswered.
Please, please switch on your video and we'll put the spotlight on you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just wanted to ask you if there are people, so I'm sorry I'm unable to start my video. I'm sitting with others also right now. That's why. So so basically, if there is someone who wants to invest in startups, if you like an idea, if the concept is great, is there any platform where someone can invest in such companies?
One platform I know of is AngelList, which can be used. But if you just put it on LinkedIn that you are willing to invest, I'm sure a lot of people will ping you because investors are always in short supply. So that should not be a problem.
Correct. So does this platform only have Indian companies, or does this have international companies as well?
It's a global platform. AngelList is quite a global platform.
Okay.
Do check them out. I think that should be able to do that.
All right. So just wondering if something like this can be started by us also. There's this very, very nice series by the name of Shark Tank.
Yeah.
I think that is on Netflix or something, and it has a very, very good platform wherein you have 4 or 5 investors sitting and people come in and pitch their product and idea. So if there is something like that, I would love to know.
Anita ji, you should start this. You have all the
Yes. I was about to say this. This can be a new venture of KDF.
KDF is the platform जहाँ अभी एंजल इन्वेस्टर ने आके बात की है कि हम इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, सो प्रोडक्ट उनके अकॉर्डिंग आप बना लीजिए. हम इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए लोग लेकर ही आए हैं ऑलरेडी.
No, I would like to start a startup also, and I would like a good startup in front of me where I can invest also.
So I think Indian is one, and if you yourself want to get investment, then you can approach different VC firms like Matrix Partners, Sequoia. If you want more training and incubation, then you can apply to different incubators present in MBA colleges like IIMs and so on. Or international incubators are also available. There are a lot of scholarship that is available in different countries where you can incubate the idea and they will also fund you.
Correct. Right. And what if people have a lot of ideas but they don't have people to do that? Can we have people to implement the ideas also?
Then you should start a startup which sells ideas to people.
Correct. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great.
There is, I think we had one last person and you've answered him as well. I think we're done. Anybody else having any questions? I see a few latecomers here. So, any questions? Thank you so much, Swati and Utkarsh. It was indeed a delight. It was actually so insightful, into the world of entrepreneurship, startups, and we've heard so much about it, but with so little knowledge, and you've imparted this to all of us here today. A big thank you to our audience for taking time out. 1 hour in these situations. I think we're grateful for you to just be so patient and just give us a very calm, peaceful hearing. And the biggest thanks today goes to Anita Aunty. You are doing such a fabulous job by simply connecting people, allowing us to share knowledge with each other. And I think there's just no bigger need for today's hour than this. We are all beaming, we are flourished with ideas. We've got so much inside of us that we want to share, but you are the one who's provided us with the opportunity. So thank you so much. And I would like to conclude the session with Anita Aunty saying a few words. Anita Aunty, spotlight on you.
Just a minute. So thank you very much. Thank you, Swati and Utkarsh. It's an amazing session. जो youngsters हैं जिनको कि startup में कुछ भी knowledge की जरूरत है, आज इस KDF के माध्यम से बहुत ही अच्छा एक session आप लोगों ने किया. So I'm really thank you. And Rishika, such a wonderful coordination. So really thank you Rishika for doing such a wonderful coordination. And thank you जो भी audience आज हमारे इस platform के जरिए स्वाति और उत्कर्ष से जुड़े. And definitely बहुत ज़्यादा knowledge मिली है आज सबको. So thank you very much. Thank you once again. Over to Rishika.
Bye from all of us. Hoping to see you all again soon with an amazing concept sometime soon. Until then, stay safe and see you all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, all of you.
Thank you. Good night.